Welcome to the Waffle Podcast, where we speak to senior leaders and business owners in the US staffing space who have achieved significant scale.
Joined today by Mike Bott and Richardson, new Co-CEOs of LHi Group. LHi Group, 5 brands: Lawrence Harvey, technology brand; SciPro, life sciences; Piper Harrison, built environment; Piper Maddox, energy; XBS, consulting brand. Offices in London, Bristol in the UK, Europe, Munich, Berlin, US, New York, Miami, Austin and LA. 300 headcount across the group, 150 in the US, 12 million EBIT just submitted, just confirmed.
Hope you're enjoying. All right, well, that's the overview. I suppose, today I just want to get into backgrounds, what's brought us to your current roles today. Obviously, of course, journey of the group. I think there's a lot of different sort of areas we can really sort of dive into that I think makes you guys, pretty unique. The EOT, the culture piece, of course, scale in the US, which I think in itself is quite unique for a UK firm out here. So a few different things to get into. And of course, your new roles and how that works and the dynamic and, all that kind of stuff. So I suppose, first of all, maybe the backgrounds of each of you. Ben, do you want to start? How
Sure.
you started in the business and what it looked like that back then and, that type of thing.
Definitely, yeah. So I started in 2012. At the time, we were a one brand business, so we just called Lawrence Harvey, just technology.
Was you still in Tom's flat?
No,
point?
it was after. No, Botty will tell you about the Tom's flat.
Right, okay.
I was after that. I think, in our first official office in Angel Court in the city.
Yeah.
So I think when I joined, there was about 25 of us.
Right.
All tech focused,
Yeah.
and I joined in the technology contracts team, SAP specifically.
Nice. Good stuff.
Cut my teeth in that, and then I'm sure Botty will get into it, but we had the opportunity to launch over in the States in New York, and I sort of put my hand up, and that was the first sort of big break for me, moving over to New York and being part of that team.
Good stuff. We'll get into all that
shortly.
Mike?
Yeah, a little bit different. I did start in Tom's flat.
Yeah. What was that like?
Yeah, a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie.
When I heard that from his podcast previously, I was like, "How did you attract people to your flat?"
I mean, I never would have signed up for it. So.
No, yeah. I mean, that's a hard sell, isn't it?
He was a bloody good salesman,
right?
And really compelling. I think when you back then, like before the recession, 2007, everyone was giving it the big, "Come and join my company, be a millionaire." Yeah. And out of the 3 businesses that I interviewed with. Tom was the only one that actually said, "This is going to be really hard. Like, you have to go and put it really in. But if you put it in, I'll find you a way to be successful."
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty. For anyone that does know me, I'm pretty black and white when it comes to like say it how it is.
Yeah.
And he was the only one. He was the only one that did.
Yeah.
So it made the conversation and then accepting really easy. And then I think we were 7 or 8. I think with one office manager at the time. Helped scale out Lawrence Harvey Perm, which is all software. Yeah. Doing Java dev for 5k fees, which is gives me nightmares.
Great
now.
market.
Great market.
Yeah, when you look at it out here and compare.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, isn't it? And then over the next 7 years, built out that Perm division with all the key markets through Lawrence Harvey that we'd been in, and then had that chat with Tom. Basically said, "Look, write me a business plan and I'll back you." So I wrote my business plan for probably 3. I think I had Singapore. I think I had Norway because of the oil and gas at the time was actually rocketing, and I had New York. And it was quite clear after some research, hearing about the fees, and I was like, "Is that actually real?" Because obviously back then, like no one was really in the US that aggressively.
Yeah,
so there was no one to call. There wasn't. I couldn't go and call 50 other people and go, "Oh, how's it working?" I think Faden were here a couple of years before us, and that was kind of it, really. No one of note that in our network or my network. Found out what the fee value was, and that pretty much secured my decision making, really. So, and easier to convince the missus to come to New York than it was Singapore or Norway at the time as well.
It's an easy sell.
That worked pretty well, and then we started Jan the 1st, 2015 from London.
Amazing.
Doing the New York market.
And when you first met Tom, and when you were both part of that early stage setup, what was the vision at that point, or was there one? And obviously you bought into Tom and you bought into where the business was going and everything else, but was there a vision? I mean, of course, it sounds like you was playing around with the international location piece, so it wasn't always going to be the US, but what was what was the vision, or was there one, or was it just
Not at the
I'll
start.
buy into this guy and let's do something?
Not for me. I mean, probably more so for when you joined later. But first, I mean, I effectively what I used to call a lifestyle business, really. Like Tom, everyone was billing pretty well.
Yeah.
But there was no real discussion of how we're going to get to the next phase. As soon as the recession hit, that just switched in my brain, or in Tom's brain, a light that was like, right, we're going all in. And we were able, in that recession, that first 2008-9, we attracted 5 or 6 senior people that we were never going to get. People that had been working in the city for bigger players that were probably on a good ticket.
Yeah.
And we were a 10-person business in the middle of Clapham.
Yeah.
It's a pretty hard sell for a lot of people that like the corporate
Yeah.
way. But through that, Tom took a gamble, and I think we went from 10 to 22 in 2008, and everyone else
Right.
either disappeared or gone under.
Yeah, you
we doubled
pushed
in
on.
size and pushed on. All of a sudden, then we had a head of contracts, head of European SAP to add to the UK, and then that was it. We kind of put headcount aggressively after that, and that's where I guess you came in.
Yeah. I think by the
Years
time I
later.
came, there's probably a little bit more of a vision. I just remember buying into Tom and him being obsessed with this like idea of there being like no limits to what we could achieve, and he
Yeah.
was just like, he wouldn't listen to any almost like rational sense. He was just like, no, we're going to achieve something. It's going to be amazing. Come and be a part of it. And
Yeah.
for me, I was just looking for an opportunity and for someone to take me under their wing. And so, yeah, that was the.
I
that
think
was
that's
sort of
really
what
important, because that's, I talk a lot. I'm like a broken record about like the DNA of the business. It's the reason why we've always to this point held ourselves against each other. Never look outside at other companies. Never gone, we're
Yeah.
better than that business. We're that. We just try and beat ourselves every day, every week, and everyone laughs at me when I say it. But like we genuinely do. I talk about every week. I want 1% better, 1% better every week, and it comes from. I think that is the DNA of LHI. But
Yeah.
it started with Tom of, guys, we're as good as we want to be, and it's like when we did something great, it was like, well, next year we've got to be better.
Yeah.
And there's no like, we never sat still. And if you look at the curve of the business, like it kind of that drove us to things that we were probably punching way above our weight for quite a while. And I think we were keen, weirdly, as soon as we got the gig, we're bringing that back front and centre. Like we are going to beat ourselves week in, week out, month in, month out.
Yeah.
That's quite cool to be a part of.
Yeah. And what would you say, like back then? Of course, culture's changed massively, but from then to now. But equally, like you say, culture's been a big part of your sort of DNA, and I know you lean into that, and you've got a lot of initiatives, and the younger you philosophy, and a number of other things. So, was that something that was always important? Did you try and define a culture back then? Equally, I suppose, was it about just the quality of people that you were hiring? Was Tom and you guys really intentional about really high standards, that type of thing? What was what was it like back then?
Early days, yeah.
Yeah.
Early days was about like know your level, and then like you were expected. The level internally we were talked about was the minimum expectation. That wasn't the bar. That was like you've got to hit it and push past it.
Yeah.
And that came from Tom. Tom is that ultimate. There's no ceiling. If you've done 400k, why couldn't you do 5? You've done 500k, why couldn't you do 6? There's always a way to get better.
Yeah. It's always been a high performance culture.
Always pushed ourselves, probably again, like I said, beyond sometimes what we actually thought we were capable of. It wasn't as defined back then. There wasn't a younger you philosophy, a future you philosophy, but it was very much, we didn't coin the phrase, but it was very much, you're doing this for your own benefit. Tom used to go mad where you bought your first house, bought your first car, anything that involved your personal life. It's like recruitment gave you that opportunity.
I think as the group sort of evolved, the fundamentals of the culture were always there, and just as we evolved, we became a bit more sophisticated with it.
of
And
course, yeah.
as you transition from like Tom, who was the visionary, who gave everyone incredible belief, then we moved into like the phase of Jim, and he probably then crystallized some more of the culture. So
Yeah.
the younger you concept, the future you concept, all of those like things that are core to our DNA probably just crystallized more and more as we evolve. And hopefully, I mean, you can come up with something just as compelling, and just as good as we keep
No pressure.
taking it to the next level.
That seems to have gone through all the market pretty quickly. The younger you philosophy, everyone's talking to us about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Yeah, great, yeah.
That got sticky very fast.
But if you can get the high performance culture consistent, and then you can bring in things like the younger you philosophy when we're looking after, it's our job to look after everyone that's coming through the business, and that responsibility isn't just on us, it's every leader, every senior hire that we make, every consultant that we develop, it's everyone's responsibility to live to that. If you get that right, plus the high performance culture, plus the future you that came about a year, 2 years after the younger you, which is all about looking forward and how we can help people achieve what they want to achieve. Like that right there is just the makeup of a really, really strong culture, I think. So
I think you've hit on an interesting point there with regards to, I suppose, maybe leaning into the hiring strategy, trainee versus experienced. And of course, you know, again, you've always had a really good training program or whatever, or should I say culture really, of attracting both really well. Of course, bringing people through. You both started as trainees, and now you're now the CEOs. Was the culture back then just trainees? Would you bring on experienced people as well? And I suppose a double-barreled question, but then how has that evolved, and how do you think you've really done such a great job of attracting both?
The off the bat was in that 2008. In the recession, we hired 4 or 5 senior people. That was to give the business structure ultimately at that time. But since then, it's always been to go with a junior philosophy for sure. So much, especially at the moment on LinkedIn, about this, that, and the other. But I think we've got so many people now. The tenure of our business now is actually frightening. I think next year we've got 15 or 16 people.
15 10-year anniversaries just next year.
That's unreal. Yeah.
I'm 18, I'm proper old, right? But like, Georgie started as a grad CSO, Ben started as a grad CEO, started as a grad. We're now getting so many of the stories come through. And I think that is one thing that has kept so many people with it, because you can actually see a way of getting there. And we will pretty much, I'm okay saying it, I think we pretty much hire in as our last resort.
Right.
We will exhaust all internal people, even if they're not quite ready. That's even more exciting for me normally, because they're not ready, but like if you push them a little bit and then they can find it, that's the exciting part, right? You never want to be thinking you're already good enough for the job. If you think that, that's the wrong job to go for, in my opinion. That's when we create that culture, and everyone knows that once you're in the business, then you've always got an opportunity. We are going to people a lot about, do you know what? In a year's time, that could be something you look at. Have you ever thought about that? And I think that junior culture has proven so well for us. We've got it right. We train them in our way. We know the standards. They're in the standards from day one. They're the ones that have really pushed on. Now, don't get me wrong, we've brought in some amazing senior talent, but trying to find great senior talent that are willing to adapt, and vice versa, us to them, like their ways of working. It's pretty difficult.
And live up to our standards. Like we do find, and you've probably experienced it on your end of things as well. It's like we do have quite a high bar, and I think that's something that we're probably quite difficult to work with, but because we drill, you're not supposed to agree with that.
You're a pain.
You're supposed to say that. But I think that's something we should be proud of, because if we spend so much time investing in our grads, we call them C1s as they move through the business, it's sort of we're not doing them any favors if we're lowering our standards to bring experienced people through.
Yeah, you've got a responsibility to keep that bar high 100%. For the benefit of everyone, not just
especially I think more so in the US. I just think that time, that opportunity, the 1 or 2 clients in the US that you can bring on as a C1, C2, you can then see a 400-500k next following year. You're bringing in a senior with 5 years, 6 years of experience doing 300k. They're just looking at you going, well, why are they 3 levels above me? I'm already outbilling the guy or girl you brought in. It doesn't really work in our culture, because our bandings and levels are quite clear of what we expect at each level. And therefore, if you don't like hit the standard, the juniors are the first to go, well, hold on, they're 3 levels above me. I'm outdoing them.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? It's about clear set expectations at all levels, and 100%. Again, you do that really, really well. And I suppose is that maybe one of the reasons as to why you've had so much success of bringing in senior people as well as trainee people, and I suppose having a culture which is attractive for both, because the expectations are so clear.
I think it's quite funny. I always talk to everyone about my final interview. A lot of the seniors will do a final interview with me or with Ben. My job's probably to try and talk them out of it.
Right.
So we make it so crystal clear around what we expect. There's no ambiguity. I would say that everyone in our business, as Jordan would say, there's no ambiguity from what the last conversation of the expectation is set to what they walk into. Is exactly what we paint the picture.
That's normally how I start the interview. Is what talk to me about what you think the role is. Like, what's your understanding of the role that you're coming in to do? Because you get a really good insight into how they understand it, what the expectations are, and like very quickly you can work out hang on a minute, I think you might have missed something. Or actually, this person, very good. They've got a really, really good understanding of the role. And then we go into talking and trying to talk them out of it to make sure that...
Yeah, we spend our life at our level now, obviously, the amount of internal interviews we do, external interviews we do every day, trying to attract people to the business. And it's I think it's the most important thing of your business is the people. Like, and one bad hire or one hire that doesn't have the same belief or expectations to themselves will bring that layer down no matter what happens.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, look, don't get me wrong, not everyone can be on grade A every week, every day. But if they understand what the expectation is, then they understand that when the pressure's on, they have to rise to that challenge. And if they've got that and they're pushing us forward, and the juniors are looking at that to say, well, I want to be as good, if not better, then you get quite a competitive, in a healthy way, environment, because then we are all striving for, very specific things that not many other businesses can offer. Which makes that vision quite centralised, which is quite good.
100%. So going back to the US piece, then of course you're discussing the international launch, and it was Singapore and Norway and New York. Obviously, was the one that you landed on. So talk to us about that time then. Obviously, New York's the one, right?
Yeah.
Who's involved? You guys are involved in that. You put your hand up, Ben, for that as well.
I did put my hand up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we had Mike Giorgio, who's now CSO.
Yeah.
He put his hand up, and then a good friend of ours still, Jerry, put his hand up. So there's 4 of us sat in London, building it out from scratch from January 2015.
Yeah. And I got here, you was doing proper US hours as well.
Yeah, I think the MD...
8 o'clock finish business.
No, the MD at the time, what he coined as the SAS of recruitment.
Right.
We said at the start, we'll get in at 11 and we'll work till 11. That was going to be the hours. And we all signed into that. And because of who we are, and anyone that knows us, we are slightly competitive with each other too.
I missed the start time. Right, yeah.
And it got down to... And then someone started getting in at 10. And then
I would start getting in and I'd be like, hang on a minute, it's 10 o'clock and there's already 2 people here. I've got to get in early.
And then and literally we're 2 weeks in. After 9, you were basically looking at getting late. And I was like, flipping heck, here we go. So then, and then no one buckled. It was like, someone's going to buckle. And we were all on the tools. Accountable. Everyone was doing the same job. There's no ego. I was running it, but it wasn't like it was mine. We were pounding phones and trying to get our name out in the market. And it just became a thing of like, I know everyone's going to be sat there. It's like 10 to 9. And I like walk in, it's like, yeah, they're there. And then I think some days we were there at the same time as the UK guys that were there too. I was like, hold on. And we were finishing.
I love it.
Finishing at 11, Ben walking over London Bridge at 11:30 in the rain.
Yeah, these guys all lived relatively close to the office, and I was an hour and a half away. So I was like just catching the last train, getting home at like
brutal
12:31, freezing cold, pouring with rain.
Back in at 9.
And then back in at 9. Yeah. We always tell this story, but there was one time that I got back at 12:31.
Yeah.
And my dad woke up and come downstairs, and he just looked at me. He's like, "What are you doing this for? Like, what is it really worth it?" And I was like, "That's not what I need to hear at 1:30 in the morning."
I suppose if you've got a point where it's like, okay, we're going to be there in 600%. Yeah. Did you have that? Did you have
Well, a little bit. I think Tom was like, "Look, you've got a proof of concept, basically." Right. And then obviously we were a bit naive to the visa process and how long that might take and what we had to do. And so it was meant to be 6 months, and it just, not through any fault of our own really, it became 9 months through the visa applications and getting everything sorted. So it was 9 months. So yeah,
wow.
It was 9 months of doing that, which saved us a lot of money because we couldn't do anything.
Yeah, you had no social life.
We're still going in suited and booted, which I can't now. Just seems
crazy. Yeah.
Mental. Couldn't see a client. Never mind anything else. But yeah, still suited and booted. But I don't know. I think that's those little moments. We talk about the little pockets of like the DNA of the business. As soon as we hit the ground, we didn't change anything. It just became 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. when we were on the ground. And then that first 2 years, the hours we put in to actually genuinely build it, I still say to this day, like it'll be a decent team to outwork us at any point in those first 2 years. Like we had a lot of pressure. We'd left big jobs for the company from the size we were. We were all in senior roles, leading teams, and it was like, you got to go and prove it.
Yeah.
And we took that on our back, and we really were like, shit, we actually have to prove it here. Like we can't be the guys that tried and failed.
Yeah.
There might be more talented people than us. In fact, for sure, there will be more talented teams than us. But pure work ethic, I don't think there's.
No, we didn't buckle.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. To be fair, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, everyone always says. My wife's like, for the first 2 years, I didn't see you. Like, you'd come home 7:30, 8 o'clock at night every day. On Fridays, we were still there 7, 8 at night, still pounding phones, thinking that this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
We were trying to trial and error. Back at a time, it's only like 2015, but we didn't have anyone to call. Didn't have that person to go, does that work for you in the US?
Yeah.
Or does that, like, we didn't have a network really either. So it was a little bit like me going, guys, this is what I think. Them going, do you know what? Sounds right.
Yeah, give it a crack.
Let's go. I mean, we changed markets. Me and Mike changed markets 3 times in the first 6 months.
Right.
Until we stumbled, or Mike actually stumbled across big data, which was then a new thing. And that took off, and the boys were pounding it in SAP. Breaking down doors to try and get into a market that was always really established in the US that we didn't even know about. So yeah, a bit of trial and error, but a lot of hard work.
Ben did the first US deal.
Yeah, that was a massive moment.
Yeah.
How long did that take? From when you started the US?
3 months. Felt like a long time. Yeah, 3, maybe 4 months. Maybe a bit longer than we thought. But as Botty was saying, like from scratch, no database. It was a hard like slog, and we'd all left relatively successful desks, so the pressure was on. So yeah, that first deal that went in, there was a massive sense of relief, and genuinely probably, like, I've probably not experienced a deal where everyone was as invested in like the closing call. If you imagine it's 10 o'clock at night, there's 4 of us on this desk, pitch black.
You're all putting it in,
and we're like, and we're just like, this is the call. We need this one to close.
We needed to know that we just that one moment we were having like 10 interviews ahead a week, and like we just like every time fell down. We're like, is this the market? We don't know if it's the market or us. And there was tweaks we were end up making, but just that moment of absolute relief. I think it was 25 grand, and it was like
that validates what you're doing in the graph.
That was it. That was weirdly the next day. I think everyone went up 2 levels again, and we're like, everyone looked at us like,
it works. This
things fell and things fell into place. We got some past business from one of our really strong European accounts that helped, and then literally after that point it was quite consistent month to month.
We went on a run then. We started putting in 150k months between the 4 of us, and everyone was like, what's going on here? We're not doing 5k Java fees here. We're doing 30, 40, 50k fees, and it's like, hold on, this is a serious opportunity to go big. And that laid the foundation. I mean, I'd hired 2 people before they even hit the ground in the US.
Oh, did you? Right.
Because of what we'd had in the bank and what we knew was coming down the pipeline. So we landed, and by the time everyone was here, within 2 weeks, there was two Americans sat in the office with us as well, which did make a difference. They were in for a shock. They didn't know what they were walking into at all.
So that leads on to that. So like culturally, obviously, 4 of you, hardcore, working hours and everything else, brick culture and everything else. How did you then sort of, you hired 2 Americans, culturally, how did that whole work in the first, however long, 6 months, a year you were there, how did that all look?
Probably on me, I would say, looking back, I'm not saying I got it wrong, but I wasn't willing to buckle. The grad that started then is still with us now.
All right.
Gone on to be unbelievable biller. He did 450, 500k in his first year. He blanked for the first 5 months.
Right.
But his work ethic very quickly intertwined with our work ethic.
Yeah.
It goes back to the fact of like hiring graduates. Graduates you basically don't know, do you?
No.
So you only know what you walk into.
Yeah, and what you
told. Like, guys, this is what you walk into. And not weirdly, a lot of the graduates over the next following years were actually easier to work with than any of the 2 or 3, 4, 5 seniors we hired at the time. I'd say they all lasted a couple of years max, but like we were like, you're doing 400k, like come on, these guys are doing 700, 800. Like, we need to you need to add a bit more, and you're doing an 8 till 6.
Yeah,
we're here 7 till 7, and I probably got that wrong. I should have given a bit more leeway to hire a bit quicker, but I wouldn't buckle. I was like, this is what we do.
You're doing 7 till 7.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It was hardcore, but I think like to your point of trying to add seniors in to that sort of environment, the couple that we did do early on didn't work out, did they? They were there for 18 months, 2 years. And I always say it's so important. We landed in New York with LHi DNA, and so we didn't want to lose that to start with. And I think any office, wherever it is on the globe, should always have some core DNA of the business that are launching there.
Yeah.
Because you can only trust you can only trust your own DNA.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're automatically taking a bigger risk. And then once you get to a point in size, maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 15 heads, that's when you can start to maybe adapt your strategy. You can be a little bit more flexible. You can open the door to, okay, do we need to adapt to our style, our culture?
Little risks here and there.
Exactly.
And we did.
Absorb it.
And we did. Like, we hired 2 or 3 people. The next 2 or 3 we hired after that, people like Alex Cohen, who's head of Piper Maddox. He's been with us, again, now 10 years plus. Like then you're hiring quality in and you're hearing a different way of doing it. Because then we've been in America a couple of years, and he'd been a couple of years like, this is how I'm doing it. And you're like, that works. Okay,
that's evolving a little.
That's interesting. I want to hear a bit more about that. And then you get the talent we started bringing in was a bar above. And then all of a sudden, we were getting more from them, not just recruitment and numbers. We were getting insight to how the markets could work differently. Because at that time, we were then launching, we came out with Lawrence Harvey, then launched SciPro, then launched Piper Maddox with 2 leaders. And it's like, okay, again, I don't know how that works. We had to get the expertise in to get that moving. And it was really interesting to then get senior people that knew what they were talking about, because that changed a lot. We kept the work ethic, especially the first 4 or 5 years. That didn't really change at all, to be fair. It has done now, for sure. But that DNA stayed, but then we had a lot more intel to actually use it in a better way, which helped us scale. That's how they really changed in the year 2, 3 in New York. We went from like 5 to 8 to like 25, basically because the talent we brought in really added serious hitting billing numbers, but also brought in knowledge that we didn't have.
Yeah, and another point as well, again, we'll maybe talk about it later when we talk about the scale across the US, but again, something you've seemed to have done very well is lean into the US culture and the American culture, while still, again, keeping your core DNA and maybe the spine of the business is, still British, recruitment methodology, but you've evolved and I think the businesses that have really scaled well out here, the UK firms, have done that. They've adopted that US culture, which you guys seem to have done. So was that an intentional thing, or was you just, I suppose you had to if you're hiring trainee.
I mean, it's like anything, right? I mean, how I run Munich or run Berlin is completely different to how I run London to how I run Bristol.
Yeah.
If you think that size of mass is ultimately smaller than the US, and like the guys in California have a different thought process, not always, but live a lifestyle to the guys in New York, to the guys in Austin. It's very different. If you're not willing to adapt,
you've got to be open to change and evolve.
For sure. Especially if you want to hire grads and bring people in, they don't. Not all of them want to work for a British-dominated recruitment firm.
They want to be out drinking and all
exactly,
that.
And so if you want to truly, like, we never wanted to launch a British firm and base it out of loads of different locations. We wanted to launch a US. We wanted to build a US business. We wanted to build US offices. But even now, we probably still, like, it's not a battle, but we're constantly assessing, how many Brits do we have in there versus how many American grads? Do we need to dial up one or the other? Is the culture right? Is the temperature right? We're constantly trying to look at that. Now, I don't think that's something that you can say, yep, cool, we've done that, perfect, we're nailing it. I think we have to always test it and look at it. And we're always looking at that and saying, cool, we need some more LHI DNA here, or we need an external fresh voice here, or we need grad camp of 5 to come through that are all US, they're all local based. We're always constantly sort of touching those buttons.
Quite interesting, because obviously for you, working with us, but like, we're quite deliberate. There are some points where it's like, yes, that they would work in that environment. We can't have 3 more Brits in that office in the next 6 months. We have to have 3 Americans to balance that out and keep it level. I think at the start we wanted to hire the best talent, and now we're way more deliberate, I would say, in level of talent, who, why, and where. I think that's really helped us keep the business moving forward, because we've got a diversity of thought, diversity of culture, which is what you need now. You can't have the days of it just being one voice. This is how we do it. Let's all go in. If it works for you, you get fair play. We would never have been able to scale what we've scaled if that had been the case.
I think we've had that from you, actually, where you've said, no more Brits here. We need Americans at the moment. I think like no more E2s or whatever.
I'm okay with that. If someone else can scale their business with 100 Brits, like, fair play. You can find them and they're good, great. But at some point, like we all talked about earlier, like people come and go, right? And then all of a sudden you get a few going, and it does change it up. Local people, great opportunities.
We've got to protect our culture at all costs. So if we have to say, even if we've got a top biller and they're amazing, but they don't fit into what we need right there and then, we have to protect our culture at first and say it's not the right time.
Culture, I talk about it all the time, especially internally, but culture for me leads to the performance.
Yeah.
I'm confident we can teach everyone good recruitment, ways of working LHI, the LHI way. But you've got to have the DNA and you've got to have the culture of that business to them want to do it.
Yeah.
If you create that,
Values aligned.
yeah.
Yeah. So good. Going back to the US then, with regards to New York. So you was there year one. You scaled to headcount.
7, 8.
Right.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Original 4 still there. Then got another 4. How did it look from there then? So when did the new brand Ben move? Sort of SciPro? How long?
Yeah, so I think about 18 months into being on the ground in New York, I basically put my hand up and to be honest, even from day one when we landed in New York, I was sort of on Tom's case saying, I love the idea of moving over to the West Coast. Would there be an opportunity for this to be a bit of a stepping stone and go over there? So I think about 18 months in, it started to become a bit of a reality. And similar to the New York launch, the plan was 6 months in New York, working West Coast hours, so not as bad.
Oh, right.
But basically proof of concept, show that it works. We looked at a couple of different markets and we just thought, at the time we were going to San Fran, not to LA, so our office is in LA.
I remember that.
I told my family, my friends.
That changed with about 2 weeks to go, didn't it?
I had a San Fran phone number. I was all set and ready to go, and me and Jana went over, one of our business services leaders went over to San Fran, checked out a load of offices, and I think as we were there, Tom called us and said, guys, bit of a curveball, we want you to go and check out LA as well. So we extended the trip, went down to LA. What was
the driver for that? Was it the fact that it was getting so expensive? It was hard to retain talent there because there was all going
both
to
of those,
tech firms
exactly
and,
that. So we'd heard of a few firms that had moved there, and big tech firms had offered sizable base salaries to go and sit internally, high churn, but easy to pull them away. So definitely that. And honestly, when we were in LA, we just walked around and I just had a really good feel for it. Yeah. In my head, I thought Hollywood, Beverly Hills wasn't really my sort of scene, but actually when we got to Santa Monica, Venice, Brentwood is a lot more homely, a lot more residential. So I really liked it. So that was it.
Yeah. So you did. So you was there 18 months, and then what you did a proof of concept sort of thing?
About 6 months. I was trying to build SciPro from scratch.
Yeah.
And then fortunately I got off to a relatively quick start, which basically just pushed the needle a bit quicker. So I think after about 6 months we actually made the move over to the West Coast. And at the same time, Jim Denning, who was running the London office, came over and helped launch it with me. So he was head of the office, and then I was head of SciPro, and he was back on the tools building the contract desk in tech.
And life sciences, so that was a strategic, intentional thing you wanted to get into at that point. You'd seen an opportunity
for sure.
What was the sort of genesis of that? Was it just a market that you'd heard about, sort of underbrokered, it was high value, whatever, but I think, what was the sort of strategy around the life sciences specifically?
I think a bit of all of that. We had a life science business in the UK already operating, so we had a bit of knowledge around the market.
Yeah, and Munich as well, hadn't we? We'd opened Munich with life sciences as a lead.
Yeah, so we had that. Fees looked really good. Opportunity over on the West Coast looked untapped, and we wanted to start to diversify our offering. So we actually did attempt to launch SciPro probably 3 months before I tried it, and hadn't quite taken off at the speed that we wanted it to. So I sort of saw that as an opportunity to jump on it and try and put my own stamp on it and take it to the next level.
Going back to your original question, I guess did Tom a bit of a disservice. Tom's always aim was to have 3, 4, 5 different brands that didn't compete. He was obsessed with, if one dies in the recession, obviously we've been through 2008 where we were doing tech, and it was 3 or 4 months there, that was tough. Yeah. And he was always like, but life sciences is always a consistent at the time. We were always hearing the life sciences in 2008 did okay, and we were like, okay, that market it's not recession proof, but there is still money to be made. Yeah. And that I think that was a trigger for him, that if you put that into his vision, he definitely wanted non-competing brands. So if one dropped, we always had a play. And America at that time, we were leveraged completely in Lawrence Harvey. And so we're like, okay, we need to diversify. Piper Maddox was 2 people at that time. Right. And so we're like, right, we need to get that third going, and it totally made sense. And
There probably weren't many other people that were willing to give up their desk that they built again to go and do it.
Yeah,
So
that was your.
I was like, I'll do it.
That was
All right.
your fourth build, fifth build.
Right. doing like unconventional hours again.
Yeah,
So,
go again.
Back to it.
And was there a play there? Of course, you were doing tech in New York. Was you doing West Coast work as well, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, like, at the time, most of the stuff we were doing was probably tri-state, wasn't it? At the time, give or take, apart from the consultancy work we were doing in tech. But like anything, like all the offices, the golden rule of every office has to add to the proposition of the business. And we were genuinely not winning that much work on the West Coast at all.
Right.
And it's like, where are you based? New York. And it seemed to be, whether that's at the time or not, but
We're small as well, so we can cover as much ground. So, you've got 10,
massive,
15,
isn't
20
it?
people.
It's like 10 of us trying to cover the whole of the US. It's just not possible.
Yeah, fair enough. So, Jim moved over with you.
Yep.
Okay. So, just talk to us about that with regards to the West Coast culture versus East Coast.
Yeah.
Again, what were the successes, challenges, first 12 months there, working with Jim closely in a small office? I know I've asked about 3 questions there, but tell me about all of it.
I think that one of the biggest cultural shifts was hiring graduates in New York versus hiring graduates in LA, which is worlds apart, completely different personalities, cultures, backgrounds. So we definitely struggled with that to start with, and we certainly kissed a few frogs over on the West Coast. I think we learned very quickly that we couldn't have that English boiler room type culture over on the West Coast, so we had to adapt really, really quickly. I remember my first hire, he was great for us. He came in, had no idea really what recruitment was, but basically looked me in the eye and said, I'll work as hard as possible and I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Like, please give me this job, otherwise I have to move back to his family home somewhere else. And I said, cool, I'm gonna give you 20 minutes, go away. Tomorrow, come back. I'm going to ask you these questions, and if you can regurgitate what I've told you, I'll hire you. And went away and did that exact thing. And that was our first hire, and he was great for us. And we also used his network to bring a few other people through the business that he knew, and that started to create a bit of a sense of community, and then we just grew from there.
Right.
Jim came out. He was hands-on building the tech side of the business, and the plan for him was always 18, 24 months, and then he was going to go back with his wife back to the UK in more of I think it was a global MD role.
Group MD,
so he was always from day one sort of put me on a pedestal, trying his best to upskill me, giving me all of his leadership hints, tips, tricks, which he was exceptional at. Less so on the billings, he won't mind me saying, but exceptional on the leadership side of things.
Right.
And really helped me out massively. Like, we wouldn't be here. Me personally, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think either of us would be here if Jim didn't do such a good job and worked with us closely. But set us up for success. He went back, and at the time, I think SciPro had grown to about 10 heads. I think Lawrence Harvey was about 5-ish.
Yeah.
Went back. I ran the office, and then we launched Piper Maddox. So my first, I guess, big hire was having a third brand leader coming in and getting that off the ground.
Right. So what years are we talking? How long was that before? How long was you there before you launched Piper Maddox then? And was that 18 months when? Jim...
So I got there about 2017. I think Jim went back about 2019. In his group MD role. So, and it was about that time that we then went and found the brand leader, who's still with us today. He's actually running the LA office now as well. So there's so many great stories of us either developing people and moving them through the business, or hiring someone externally, putting them in a position, they prove themselves, and then they take on bigger roles. There's so much of that in the business. So I think we got it to about maybe 30, 35.
I mean, that's no small feat in LA. It's so
on the West
hard
Coast.
over there to hire, isn't it? And
it's hard.
So I think that's it. Whenever we speak to anyone, of course, we've done a lot of work with your LA office, and we know it's so challenging to hire there and retain staff there. So the fact that you was at that sort of headcount level so quickly, and indeed where it is today.
Exactly.
Okay, so this was just pre-pandemic. So what was New York looking like at that point? And how?
So I was good. It's interesting. I think that year 3 for us when you guys left was probably if it's all possible, went up a level, because they became the competition. I'm probably the most competitive man on the planet, and so I saw Jim and Ben 100% with us. But like before the first deal, you got your share allowance was based on your growth quarter to quarter, half year to half year, etc. and they came, and it was a bit more, wasn't it, into that first year, a bit more competitive in terms of, well, hold on, we need to beat you because we want more of the share pot.
Quite intentional, I think.
It worked an absolute treat, didn't it? He was a genius, bless him. And I just turned it up another level. I think for that year 3 before I handed it over to Mike. That was from the headcount we had to the numbers we got out of that business was just bonkers. Run rate PPH, and Ben had started like a rocket. So that they were coming for us quite aggressively from not the overall number, but the PPH value and how you're getting your share value. And so we had to, we ticked another level, I guess, on that. I think that's probably the biggest year of influence, because then we had the West Coast that were generally putting in decent numbers, and we went and probably grew about 150% from year 2, probably even more, to be fair. And we went from, I left it 3.5 years later at 45, I think. I left Georgie 45. With all brands running, all heads of brands, all the structure in place, for Mike to sit on top. And I think that's where it really went again. And that's where Austin came from, basically, because it was time to, I looked at the GP we were doing on both coasts, and we did 31 grand in Texas.
Right.
I was like, well,
yeah, right.
Hold on, that's a big old place with a massive economy to do 30 grand in our core markets, and we could not get, a bit like the West Coast, wasn't it? We couldn't get in, couldn't get a deal in, and so we deliberately opened Austin after that to go really specific, and we only worked. To be fair, for the first year and a half, we only worked the Austin market. Right. We didn't go outside of Austin.
And then you moved from New York to launch Austin.
Yeah, probably not my finest move. I think after building a UK, that everyone kind of sometimes forgets that I did the UK before the America, because I've been here so bloody long. To then doing America, to then being off the tools again, to then getting back on the tools for the 3rd, 4th time.
Right.
I probably wasn't best positioned, and then I was also I was MD of New York and Austin, and trying to build a business. And if I gave anyone advice, if you're building an office, you have got to be front, centre, and all about that office, zero distraction. So I'm doing a bit of cold calling for an hour, then I'm on a call with Tom or Jim at that time then, because he was a group MD, about something else that we're trying to drive, and you're kind of flitting. And then I was talking to a manager in New York, then I was coming back to do a couple of candidate calls.
Yeah.
To be fair to the guys, we had a half decent, although Jack put me under a bus last week on a podcast. It wasn't as bad as he made out.
I haven't watched that one. I watched his live one. I haven't watched the.
Yeah, we grew it to about 8-9 people. But it needed someone who genuinely wanted to be in it every minute of every day. That's the one reason that every office launch has worked so far. Touch wood. Is the person that's run that office, whether it's me, Ben, Carmen in Miami, is they are all in with zero distraction.
Right.
And if I look back, there's moments like, could I have done it better? Yes. Was it average to okay? Yes. We did enough to be able to hire and put the infrastructure in place, but I wouldn't have. If I went back again, I would have left New York 100% alone and gone, right, no one talked to me for 12-18 months. I'll go crazy again to launch it. But rest is history. Jack came in and has done an unbelievable job in Austin.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys were in New York before. We all know about the UK into US, market with regards to staffing firms, and you was in these locations before a lot of others were. Yeah. So I suppose looking back now, and again, you kind of didn't have a blueprint to follow. You weren't looking at other, what other businesses were doing, and obviously you stayed true to your DNA, your strategy, and what you wanted to do. That said, if you look back now, what would you have done different in some of these locations, maybe, and what challenges? You mentioned there, obviously, of course, with your role specifically, but I suppose maybe with the locations, maybe with the strategy. It sounds like you moved markets, but was there anything else that you could probably pinpoint where you could have done different, or you could have, you faced some challenges that...
Had that question yesterday, didn't we? Location one quickly for me. I wouldn't change the location. I love where we're at. I love the diversity of location, what that brings us from a group perspective. Like I said, every office has only ever started to add to the proposition, which I think we've done well. Honestly, in year 3 in New York, I said no to 4 people. Like anything, hindsight's bloody brilliant, isn't it? But 4 seniors that I said that wanted to join us, and I said no, because they weren't willing to work the 7 till 7. They were willing to work the 8 till 6, and I still said, you're not going to fit the culture. and they went on to be absolute monsters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
So it proves that there's a different way to skin the cat, isn't there? Like, so for me, I was like, you look back and go, actually, they would have been a great hire. And now, weirdly, two of them are mates or people I know of in the market and talk to quite regularly. I'm like, yeah, you would have actually been brilliant for the office. But my own stubbornness at the time was, this is how I'm doing it. This is how we built it. This is what we stick to. I'm not buckling.
Yeah.
Because it was being successful.
Yeah.
But like anything, like you live and learn by those moments, don't you?
And if you had buckled, you wouldn't have attracted or retained some.
Yeah, and like anything, I brought those two in, and that C2 might not have had the chance to become a team lead a year later, and then take on the brand a year later. Like everything has a consequence, but you do look back and you think, especially in recruitment, if you hear about a hire that's gone to do something mega, you're like, why did I say no to that?
Always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, always have to a little bit.
Yeah. Right, EOT. I want to get into this with regards to when that was introduced, what that looked like. When did it come around? When was that idea presented to you? Did you have an EMI scheme before that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we go back to that then, with regards to when that was introduced and you guys were all part of it and how that evolved into the EOT.
I mean, someone introduced that EMI scheme. God, what it seems like, I don't know, 2010.
Yeah, early on, day one for me, I think.
But I think it was, 2015 when we went to the US. Then he made it very competitive. He made your ability to earn those shares in the scheme. You were in a pot versus your level, and you knew who you were against. And like I said, it was basically whoever had the most growth that got diluted into the MI scheme. So you got the more growth you had, the more shares you got.
Yeah. So he put 50% of the business he kept, and 50% he put up for shareholders to have the ability to earn. So I think at the point of us doing the EOT deal, which is based on 21 numbers, so we announced it in 22. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think there are 105. We call them loan note holders. So there are 105 beneficiaries of that first EMI scheme. And as we were looking at the different sort of, instruments we could use to do a deal, looked at all of the normal VC, private equity backed investors, and our chairman, Jim Glanfield, all sort of got their heads together and found this EOT vehicle that wasn't particularly well known in recruitment. I think there's a fair few businesses have done it more recently.
It was John Lewis was the only one really that had done it at any scale. And it goes back to, and I keep harping on about it, I'm like a broken record, but the DNA is like, it's hard when we've only ever judged ourselves against each other internally. So to then think about someone coming in who was then going to say, this is how we'd like you to do it, this is what we want you to do. We all kind of looked at each other and went, we all answered to each other. Right? And we all had the highest bar internally against each other. Do we want that? And that was a question in a board meeting. I was like, do we want, no matter what the money is, do we want someone that's going to have a say in our business? So what I think not everyone forgets, but like Tom was so open about making it yours. Like he told Bott, it's your business, Jim, it's yours. Like own it, take it, take that. Like America's mine, Jim, this is yours to run. And I think then you start. It's becoming. You do generally think. I sit here now and think it's my business. Like I know clearly it's not my name on the door. You know, Tom will always be the founder, but I'm like, it's mine. I live and breathe it, and I think we're trying to pass that on to the next level, aren't we?
For sure. And when you think of those 105 beneficiaries from the first transaction, one of the beautiful things about the EOT is that everyone that is part of the business and has a minimum of 12 months tenure at the point of us doing our next event, whenever that is a member of the EOT. They have a shareholding in the business. And so everyone that was part of that first deal was so bought in and drove such a high bar and had such an expectation on each other that it bred success. And we were way more aligned with giving everyone the opportunity to achieve something pretty interesting, pretty special that not many businesses can do, versus doing it at a leadership level. So anyone in our business, as long as they've been with the business for 12 months, they have a shareholding, and that the value of that is, I think it's six figures, even from like a C2 level individual. So it's pretty bold compared to what other businesses have done.
And when it all came about, and we hear obviously what people say in the market, it's smoke and mirrors, it's paying Tom out, it's this, it's that, you know. So I mean, let's
touch on that, because at the moment we're 3 years in since that first deal, and we've already paid out 80% to those 105 people. There's 80% of that money we're owed has been paid.
Has already paid
already,
right.
which in most deals that never happens. Never might happen to the top person, but never happens to that many. Well, not that I've heard of. And 85 of those people are still in the business.
Right. Fair enough.
So Tom's going to go. He's still in the business, but obviously doesn't play any role within that apart from the founder role, and sits on the exec board. But ultimately, I think that shows it was just one part of what we're trying to build. It wasn't the end result where we all left and everyone runs off to the sunset. It wasn't a way that we could all retire and go. It did create significant wealth for those 109 people. That's pretty cool. So now it's just like, because we've been able to pay off 80% of that, did a capital raise in March again, which is incredible in this sort of market to be able to do that, probably based on the figures we did last year. I think that shows the sort of business we are and how we're going to get there. And so because we've paid it out, we've done it twice, and now people can see that we do pay it out. We've been paying the loan notes every 6 months. They get a proportion of their payout in those 3 years. Confidence is there that when we do the next one, we're doing it the same way.
It's a difficult balance to get right, because we don't want everyone to be so obsessed with what their EOT value could be and have that as their only point of reference and only reason for being here. And like, we're doing our town halls at the moment when we're on this tour, and one of the key points that I try to land everywhere we go is, if you were here purely for the EOT, you're in the wrong room, because we're all trying to get here. The only way we're going to achieve something amazing, if we all put in an amazing performance, it's not just a given. But if we do achieve it, it'll be amazing, but it's just a point in time, and the business still keeps going. And so balancing getting people excited about the EOT, letting them know and understand what it could mean for them financially, but then also making sure that they're thinking of life at LHI post EOT, and making sure that work environment is the healthiest is a real challenge. And I think we've done a pretty good job, particularly more recently, in getting that blend right. We want everyone to know we are obsessed with getting to that point in time and doing that next deal. But what's even more important than that is the type of business that we're building for the next 5, 10, 15 years, EOT or not. And
also, you've got to do it at the right time, the right market. I mean, like anything, anyone can see that the market isn't the greatest market in the world. From a interest rates, from an investor model, there's not that many recruitment companies. There's a few getting bailed out by deals, but there's not that many doing big, well done, here's a huge offer, and go off into the sunset. So anything, you wouldn't sell your house at the bottom of the market, would you? So we're not in that world as of this second, but we know how we're tracking and what we need to hit, and we're very open with the whole group. They know exactly what we're aiming at. They know what the run rate would look like. They know what we need to be in the room. And so we couldn't be more transparent. If we hit that deal at that valuation, that is a number you get. It's just set in stone versus level, which takes away the competitiveness of the first deal. But my God, to give you a decent vision and a decent point to run at for the next one, which does help with retention. It probably is a big reason why we've got, 15 people next year doing 10-year anniversaries. Like, they're not just having a good year and seeing themselves progress internally. There's also got that cherry on the top, as I always call it, of that's what could come down the line when we get there.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? Because so many staff, they all say the same thing. They're all going to sell, they're all going to do it ill, and all the rest of it. And there's some that are so fixated, and it's less than 1% or whatever it is. But some are so fixated on it, it's like they forget the journey. It's just about getting to that end point. 100%. And it's almost like everyone's just there for that.
That was the first deal was incredible, because what we were running at such a pace that the deal that we thought we were getting was double. We ended up getting double what we expected. And the following year after that deal, we did 55% growth. That's the run rate we were on.
Right.
And everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, that happened. That was good. That's incredible.
We're on a different.
But like the year after, then we did 55% growth. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And we started doing some serious numbers. And I think that's what you need. You need people that are there. They know that's going to be a cherry on the top. But what they're seeing is we can be a 500, 700, 1,000 person business. We can open up a new territory. We can open up new markets. Like, jobs are cool. Like, if you actually invest in it, like, there aren't that many jobs where you can travel around the world. You can go and see clients. You can, the influence you can have, and the money you can earn by being good. It's pretty life changing for a lot of us, right? And I think that can get lost when it's just like, especially when there's one person, or if you look at these companies, like there's 2 or 3 people that have got significant shares, and everyone else has got like 50 quid. It's like, well, actually, it's all great for 2 or 3 at the top, but then what?
Yeah.
And what's that stability? Whereas for us right now, it's 300 people. And I think on the first deal it was 109. It wasn't Tom, although he did bloody well. It wasn't him, and then the company went down. Jim was already CEO for those 2 years before that deal. And I think the continuation is why we got able to kick on again. I think that's really important for anyone in a business, not even our business, but like, is your share scheme or is it designed to actually keep you and push your business forward, or is it just something that looks shiny but you don't know how it was worth? I've got 5,000 shares of what? Like, of genuinely, do you know how much your company's actually worth? Yes or no? LinkedIn's great for that, isn't it? We've done this amount and blah blah blah, and you look at the company's house and the EBIT's 1.1. You're like, you're not selling for anything. Mate. It's not. No one's buying that.
We hear fatigue with it now. We're speaking to leadership candidates, and it's like, we've heard this before, and I've left money on the table previously based on, okay, don't take it all on the base salary because we're going to do this in a couple of years. It never happens. A few years down the line, they're unhappy, and they've heard it all before, and sometimes particularly by Brit firms type thing.
I say it to everyone, because like, obviously the first deal we did well, but I still think there were 2 or 3 areas that we probably, even up to completion, were like, ooh, that's good to know. They want us a valuation on that. We thought we knew what we were doing, but until you do one, you don't. The second raise we've just done, it's like, we knew the buttons to press. We knew how the investment companies wanted it to look, in our case HSBC, of what they're putting value against. And so now, looking at doing basically a third raise, like, we're being very deliberate in what we're trying to push as a business, because that's the value add. Someone that's never done a deal, it's like, you can get a lot of mistakes in that. Like, looking back, I'm thinking, oh my god, if we just tweaked that 2 years before, that 2 years before, could we have got a little bit more? I don't know, maybe. But that's how you learn, by going through it. There's a lot of people that we're going to do a deal. How?
I think
how and why?
I think last thing on that as well, just from a talent acquisition side of things, we've learned how to talk about the EOT more effectively as well. So when we first did the EOT deal, we were probably going to yourselves and going to the market saying, hey, let's push this down everyone's throats. Let's talk about it. Let's tell everyone how much wealth they could get if they joined us. And very quickly we learned that wasn't we weren't getting the right type of people. It wasn't working, both internally and externally. It wasn't the right comms. So now we lead with, this is our culture, this is the environment, here's the opportunity that we could create by working with us, here are the different directions that we could go, the different solutions that we're building. Like, join us because you think LHI is an amazing place to be and the opportunity is huge. And oh, by the way, if you do really well and if you buy in and you're able to weigh in and you're able to contribute, this is what it could mean for you on a grander scale. And I think getting that exactly. So I would hate for you or any of your team to go to the market and say, have you heard about LHI and the EOT? That's wrong. Have you heard about LHI and the Younger You and Future You philosophy and how many homegrown brand leaders that they've got? Wicked. I'm really interested in being a part of that. Awesome. Oh, by the way, there's a bit of a cherry on top. We've learned that, and it's been a huge development.
That was a big learn. Year one, probably, if we go back to the original other question, that's something I probably would have changed. I'd probably go back and go like, we were so excited by it, but it came the reason to be here, which is the complete opposite of what we wanted.
Well, like you say, equally, it was a unique way of and it was a transaction, but that vehicle was obviously unique compared to.
We seem to do that a lot. Else. We seem to do things that no one's done quite a bit, and then have to figure it out. But also that makes it bloody interesting. Right?
And there's a few that have popped up with it since then, haven't there? Lays the trail. So set up Austin. And then obviously Jack took that over.
I became USMD. Stayed on as USMD through the pandemic effectively, and then then said my wife said it's time to go home.
Right.
My parents said I got made Group MD at the end of the pandemic, of which I think my mum's phone call was, "You're choosing to be in the US now, and I haven't seen my grandkids for 9 months because of the pandemic." So I was like, probably fair.
Right.
So, and I think at the time America, it was just in a good spot. We'd had, even though the pandemic had hit, we'd pushed through the other side of it. We'd got a lot right through that, for definite. And we kept the team whole deliberately. And I was super, super confident of Mike, Ben, and then Jack as that new leader in Austin. The leadership in that business was good. I didn't have to be in America for that to be working. Whereas going back into the UK, European market, I think they'd been hit a bit harder from that COVID. And therefore, I thought my time was probably better spent on the ground, more in the UK, Europe over the next year and a half, 2 years, than it was in America. So that kind of worked out perfectly.
Right. So let's talk about this whole co-CEO thing. Not something we see too often. No. Not as CEOs. Of course, we see business partners and sometimes more than two, business partners. But not wanting to get into a domestic here, but let's talk about your relationship throughout your careers. And have you guys always been good friends, and was it always sort of like a skill set that complemented each other? And I
think we've had our moments over the years for sure.
Yeah,
we definitely had our moments. I would say we've always had like absolute respect for one another.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to come over with Botty and work for him, and I learned tons working with him closely in New York. And so I think we've always got on really well. We've always been quite comfortable calling each other out and having difficult conversations as well, which I think is so important. And so when James, our chairman, spoke to, again, I won't speak for you, but when James, our chairman, spoke to us, or spoke to me about the opportunity and the role, it probably wasn't, it was a curveball. I wasn't thinking that was going to be an option. But once sort of sitting on it and thinking about it and digesting it, we've both got very, very complementary skill sets.
Right.
It's rare that we tread on each other's toes. We've said this a couple of times as we've been visiting the offices. But I think within the first 6 weeks of hearing about the new structure and the role we were going to play, we were in a meeting room in LA, and we had this big whiteboard, and we basically said, right, let's divide everything that I want to do and focus on, and everything that Botty wants to be responsible and accountable for. And we wrote them all out, and like literally to every detail that you could think of. And I think there was one thing that crossed over that sort of sat in the middle.
Okay.
And the rest of it was just like, you want to do that?
Great.
Perfect. And I wanted to do that, and it worked really, really nicely.
So it's not a case where you're kind of butting heads over decisions.
No.
Because you've got your own areas that you obviously run everything past each other. But
for sure.
I mean, we talk to each other more than our eyes, for sure.
Yeah,
that voice notes today is incredible, especially with LA and London, or I'm in Oxford.
It's quite sad, really.
It is pretty sad. But at the same time, I think it only works because of the trust. I could never have done it with anyone. Genuinely, no one else in the business I could have even thought.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
I thought it was possible, and we've been open about that because we are very comfortable saying, "Nah, mate, that's it's not what we want to have. You've done that wrong." Very comfortable. You've got to leave that ego straight at the door. There can't be any ego in a co-CEO because that isn't going to work. I want to do this, you want to do that. It's like, no, it has to be who's best to do A or B, and we're quite good at saying, well, we know each other inside out from that perspective. So that's just really important. I think it's working well so far, but it's just a continuation of really what we were doing before. Bar the title, we were still doing a lot of this because Jim gave us a hell of a lot of flex to he trusted us to do our jobs very well anyway, and so we were doing a lot of it anyway before this, which kind of worked really well.
Yeah. It was a bit of a match made in heaven because I think Jim did an exceptional job. I think everyone in the business agrees 100%. Like, he took us through COVID, the younger you, the future you philosophy, like the infrastructure that we have is all thanks to the hard work that he done. But his passion and what he's really excited about is coaching and development and leadership development. And so it was a match made in heaven. It wasn't Jim's not going to be with the business anymore. It was Jim loves the organisation, wants to be part of the business, and has an idea of a role that he wants to play with us. And therefore, it's your opportunity for the two of you to step up and take the business to the next level, whilst keeping Jim, retaining Jim, and having him in a really, really exciting role, which we've branded, I think, Executive Director of Future You. And he's basically working with a cohort of our leaders.
Yeah.
40, isn't it?
40 leaders. Every single week, his whole job is solely dedicated to developing our leadership and aspiring leaders.
Amazing.
So, if we were to use an external coach or someone externally, it would be an extreme cost. But to be able to have it in-house, someone that knows the business, that has helped build the DNA, that's a real differentiator for us right now.
Yeah.
So if we're talking to an aspiring leader that's looking at joining the business, we're able to say our former CEO is going to be able to dedicate hours upon hours of upskilling you, bringing you through the business, and ultimately putting you in the best position. And you've got us. And the office leaders, and the brand leaders, you know what I mean? So,
I think that's really important, because I said this to everyone, but like, no one, I don't think any CEO surely can be arrogant enough to think they know everything about everything. They're the best of every part of the job. And I said to it, I think the town hall in Austin, I was like, 80 to 85% of the time, I'm only doing work in the business that I think I'm genuinely the best person to do.
Right.
And that's the bit I love the most. There's always 15-20% of the job I'm like, yeah, I've got to do that, and I've got to do this bit, which is not I'm not great at, or maybe I'm okay at it, but I don't really love it. But then if you split that between two of you, and it happens that his skill set is not complete opposite. We've got a very similar way of thinking, but it's complementary to what I'm doing. Then I was like, I do 8% of my job. I absolutely love it every week, and I'm most impactful. I'm not worried about A, B, and C because it's not in my lane. That's Ben's lane, which is also getting. He's miles better at it than me, which is even better. So I'm like, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting me at my best, Ben at his best in the specialisms that we've got, which should hopefully give more impact. I think it should give more impact.
Well, like you say, that lack of ego is.
Yeah, you've got to get rid of it. There is no ego.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work if you ever thought you were in competition. And you forgot that the aim of the job is to take the business forward, not yourself forward. As soon as you lead with, are we making the best decision every day, every week for the business? And if we both go, yes, next, let's go.
Not what's best for you, it's what's best for the business. And whatever we need to do
100%
to get us to that point.
Totally.
Okay, great. And so I suppose, again, with the US, recently opened Miami. That's been, what, a year, 18 months now?
Nearly 2 years.
2 years.
Nearly 2 years, yeah.
Right, okay. What was the play there with regards to coming down to Miami?
We had, first of all, as always, lead with the people. So we had 5 or 6 people across the group that were being vocal, because we always have a forum every month, every quarter. It's like, if you're interested in a move, if you've got an idea, put it forward.
We have a think tank. So a quarterly think tank. So we create an environment where anyone can pitch any idea. It could be a solution, it could be a new office, it could be just something that sprung to mind. Just basically just trying to drive that innovation and new thought process. So,
and like anything, if you haven't got the right team and the right people, then it's, why are you doing it? And we ended up having, sounds a bit corny, we actually ended up having a dream team of like top end senior talent that wanted to be hands on and they wanted to build and own something, which putting them together is exactly it's played out exactly how we thought. They're the fastest growing business we've ever had in terms of numbers. They're number 1 business this year. In their second full year, they're the highest billings per head month in, month out of an office. They've created an environment quite similar to maybe in New York back in the day, dare I say it, which is pretty hard in Miami. I think they've got a high bar and a high standard, but they've also got the 4 or 5 seniors that are leading with the standards, and now they're bringing the graduates to say, like, do as I do, not as I say, and that mentality is leading the graduates to be getting promoted faster, to do their first deals quicker, to building their books faster, whatever it might be, which after the last 4 or 5 days, I couldn't be more excited. Carmen's done an amazing job there, setting the tone, and that's a seriously exciting business moving into 26.
And what's, in terms of the future for the US then? I mean, of course, you've got some really high performing teams now. Would you be open to new offices? I mean, it sounds like with the think tank, maybe, I think nothing's impossible, but what do you have a clear strategy about what you're going to do out here in the US, over the next sort of 2-3 years? It doubling down on existing markets, indeed, which markets?
I think so. On the new office piece, we had a very similar question in one of our town halls last week. Strategically, we're not sitting here saying we need to open in X location or Y location. Most of our brands operate cross-region, and so therefore we don't have like an East Coast focused business and a West Coast focused business. They cover the whole of the States. So we're not saying strategically we need to open somewhere, but we're always really, really open. If the right person knocks on the door and says, hey, I've got this idea, this opportunity, I wanna take a leap of faith, we'll always listen to it and assess it and work out whether or not it makes sense. And we've got someone that we're in talks with at the moment, actually, that's internal, that has got a proposition and a suggestion. So we're absolutely exploring it. I think we've also learned over the years, particularly in the most recent years, from a strategic standpoint, it's really easy to say we're going to do this market, but markets change, new bills come into play, whatever it is, and we have to be able to pivot. So I think particularly in the States, we've been able to pivot really, really effectively across all of our brands where we need to, and that's part of the strategy. Like, we want to have a proposition that is clear, a defined market, but also an ability to pivot quickly when needed.
I'd say it's one of our superpowers as a business is, like, I think we are masters of change. We're very quick, we're very comfortable going, this isn't working, that market has dropped off. whether it's A, B, or C market, and it's like, right, okay, but we've got talented people. Where can we pivot them quickly? That's worked incredibly well for us. We've got ourselves out. If we're all in on one market, our exposure then becomes a little less, basically, on the fact we can move so quickly. And again, back to the original, we can move in brands. One brand takes off and it's going flying, and we've got we're making waves. Then it's like, well, hold on, there's 4 or 5 new seats there that are probably better than the ones they could be in that brand, and we'll move them across. We're always challenging the leaders, office leaders, like, are the people in the best seats? And you've just got to ride out a few waves now and again, for sure. But I love these companies, like, in the next 5 years we're doing this. It's like brilliant, because in the last 5 years we've gone through basically a recession, COVID, and throw that in the mix, and that was quite a lot to challenge, right? So I think we probably work, it's fair to say, 12 months ahead, we've probably got a nice idea of where we want to get the business to from a GP, from that standpoint. And the markets, we can see they're secure, but we're always challenging ourselves on what could be, and where can we pivot, because that's half the fun of it, really.
So I was going to say, the other major part of our strategy for the US and globally, but particularly in the US, I think there's a huge opportunity, is we've been speaking a lot about this journey from just being a recruiter to true talent solutions.
Right.
So we're exploring how we can talk to our customers in a less transactional, have you got a role, can we fill it, and more, how can we help you solve your talent issues? So we launched Embedded out here earlier this year.
All right.
So we've got someone solely dedicated to building our Embedded business unit. He's got off the ground relatively quickly. We're super pleased with some of the opportunities that we're already starting to pick up. And our sales force have really started to understand what that proposition could mean to our customer base. So that's huge, and that's an opportunity for us to grow GP in a slightly different direction. We've also doubled down and invested in XPS, which you mentioned as one of our brands. That's our consulting brand. So we split it into 2. We have your typical sort of staff augmentation, which is schedule of work, SOW type business that we're focusing on. And then the other side of it is more sort of talent advisory. So with it, we've built a bit of an ecosystem where we're able to offer things like AI audits, ESG audits. We can do some talent advisory, leadership development. So we can offer all of that underneath our XPS banner as well.
Right.
So in an ideal world, a senior consultant in Piper Maddox will be able to talk to their customer about their recruitment needs, some of their exec search needs, maybe some of their transformational projects that XPS could help them with, maybe some of their leadership development as well.
Right.
And then if they've got bulk hiring, they can also talk to us about Embedded. And so we're not just poking them. We're really trying to spread ourselves across their full talent.
So the XPS brand, does that essentially add as it's an extension to your existing, as opposed to it being a standalone? Right. Okay.
I think we, like in the past, where we have used it and it's been launched before in the past, but I think the difference is now the 2 people that are running it are both senior directors, are 2 of the top 5-6 people in the business in terms of seniority. So that's our commitment by putting those guys in it who want to do it and have got that skill set. I think it shows how keen we are to diversify again, not just from being great recruitment. We can add a few more strings to the bow, for sure.
And do you have any other plans markets wise, in terms of
the think tank? You'd be amazed what comes out. Everyone's got the next big thing, haven't they, to a point, and you've got to thrash it out. I think we've still got a long way to go in what we do. It amazes me how everybody wants to do everything. I was like, well, I think bar, I'd say something like PM and solar, where I say that all 4 offices have 5, 6, 7 people in that office that do it and specialise in it. And I'd say we don't maybe dominate that market. We're definitely a front player in that space. We just we
so much
touch
to
the
do.
surface, don't we? Really, I think it goes, especially in America specifically. It's just so much opportunity, and so you got to get really deep and rooted into those markets. We've got 4 or 5 person businesses that are doing great. My argument is, and every question I've had in the last week and a half, and I'll carry on this week in New York, is, can that market hold 5 to 10 more? And every time is, of course it can. So I'm like, well, okay, we're already very good at it. We're known for it. Let's take even more market share by being even better and offering a better service. And now we've got new solutions to add to what is the recruitment service. Never been in a stronger position.
It's almost contradictory to what you were saying. Like we're masters of change. We're really comfortable with change.
But
then we've also got to sit on the other shoulder and say, actually, do we need to change? Do we go critical mass? Do we double down in that space as well? So getting that.
We have and I think we've got so many examples of that, of how we've moved into a market quickly and really got it moving when we've had to. But I also think people are very quick to be like, oh, the market only holds 3 or 4. I'm like, no good recruitment market holds 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like, and we're in markets deliberately that are cutting edge, you know, part of everyday life. All our markets impact something, and are mainly government led / investment led. So if you start with following the money, then you'll see where the opportunity comes from, which has worked for us so far. I mean, there's always going to be a left field pitch and a think tank. That's what the fun of it as well. I didn't even know some of these markets existed. We were like, me and Ben, we can't know everything.
100%.
And yeah, we're already doing a couple of markets at the moment that are pretty off the radar, that I would say no one really understands, and maybe we struggle to understand to a point.
Yeah.
But we're kind of hearing we're one of one in the market, which is like, I think that's crazy to me, but it's super interesting too. Whether it's got legs to be a 5-10 person market, we're going to find out. But yeah, keeps it interesting.
And finally, future. Well, obviously, you guys have just started on this new role journey. Talk to us about what the future looks like, and next DOT. Beyond.
I think the talent solutions journey is one that we're both super excited by. I think that concept of, and it's not unique, you know, a lot of businesses are talking about trying to do the same thing. It's all about execution. That's fundamentally a key strategic goal of ours. We're really focusing on and doubling down on our customer profile and probably trying to formalize it and be a little bit more purposeful with our customer base. It sounds silly, but we haven't always led with how we can develop and maintain and retain our customer base as well as maybe we should. So that's something that's a core strategic goal of ours as well. So we've got that. We've got the journey to talent solutions. We've got building our brand a little bit more, trying to push ourselves externally from a expertise in our niches. So, you know, encouraging our people to go on roundtables within their industry or speak at events or do podcasts in their relatively space. And then for us also getting ourselves out there and talking a little bit more about what LHI are all about and what it's like to be a part of the family. So that's that's another big, huge part of our proposition and strategy. Yeah. And then the last one is, which is core to all of us, is our people development and leadership development. So, you know, if you look at our core 3 pillars, customer first, customer centric, how can we develop them, building our brand externally and internally, and then doubling down on our people and leadership development, that right there is our vehicle to get us to the EOT point and beyond.
Nice. Yeah, good stuff.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Nothing left to say after that.
Mic drop.
Well done.
Right, I think we're done. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for swinging by.
Thank you for having us.
Good stuff.
Cheers.